Welcome to each of you on this holy day of Samhain, a day directly between the fall equinox and winter solstice, a day in which the veil between the living and the dead is thin, a day in which we can cultivate relationship and build community through compassion, reason, and respect, not only with those among us who are living, but also with those spirits who remain with us in our memories, our stories, our hearts. My name is Reverend Nick Filzen, and I'm honored to be the worship host today for Jezebel and Not. Together, we're joined in co-creation by music director David Netches and Owen Zilla. If you're a visitor or have been here for decades, you are welcome here. Visitors may find a blue card in the seat pocket right in front of you. If you could fill this out and leave it at the front table before you leave, this will help us keep in touch with you and help you be more connected with us. We look forward to getting to know you, and we welcome you all. I'll be standing just outside following the service along with Jezebel, and would love it if you came by to say hi. You're also invited to stick around for some coffee and cookies after the service so others can say hi too. We'll know you by your orange name tag. Whether here for the first time or the 1,000th, I sincerely hope you get what you need today. I'd like to briefly highlight some info and events important to our interdependent lives together in this sacred community. Following the service next Sunday, we will hold a hybrid congregational meeting at which the board and I will update the congregation on our ongoing missional efforts and hopefully get your approval on a few things, while also unveiling some cool work we've been doing to meet the needs expressed in listening circles. I truly hope all members, again, this is a member event, can be there to be involved with our sacred democratic process. Please look for more info and e-announcements and the meeting notice that was sent by email on October 20th. In alignment with that occasion and November's monthly church-wide theme of holding history, at our service next week, we'll literally hold the history of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta as we honor this community's pioneers and ancestors that helped us arrive where we are today. Please bring any objects, other religions might call them relics, with you that connect you with this place, its people, and your memories to include on the altar after we use them during next week's meditation. I will remind you of that during the week, both on Facebook and in e-announcements. The nursery and the elementary faith formation cohort still needs more volunteers each week during Sunday morning worship. Serving the spiritual needs of children is important and integral, but if we don't have adults to facilitate that work, we can't do it. If you have an interest in serving our kids' spiritual needs, please speak with Reverend Kim. I'm thrilled that our youth will be staying with us adults for our entire service today, but that isn't possible every Sunday. May we now move fully into our time of worship and connection, opening our hearts and our souls to our loved ones, both living and dead.
This season, Samhain, Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, is a time of transition into the darker season. Nights are getting longer, days are getting cooler, and it's a very special time of the year. It is often a time of transition, a time of unrest, and a time of both mystery and mirth. And so we will light our chalice today for this season. And we are lighting several other candles today. As you see, we have our altar for our ancestors. During our first hymn breaths, those of you who have pictures or mementos of your loved ones are invited to come forward and place them on the altar. This candle, as you can see, the chalice is carved into it. This is in honor of Miguel Cerveto, who is a Spanish theologian and polymath and Renaissance scholar who was burned for challenging the doctrine of the Trinity on October 27th, 1553, and in honor of all of those persecuted as witches and heretics and those who fought for their religious rights. And our third candle is our ancestor candle. For this is the time of year where we welcome those who have gone before to be present here. Many people are often more aware of their presence of their beloved at this time of year. This is an ancient holiday that has been celebrated in many ways across many continents, and we remember those who are beyond. As is the message of our first hymn, Breaths by Issei Barnwell. We'd like to bring your pictures forward. You can bring your pictures now.
When the fire's voice is heard, is the ancestors' breath.
Yeah, bring your pictures. You can bring them up. This was a time when spirits were believed to roam abroad, and there are many, many customs and lore around what is known as guising, the wearing of costumes. And I see some out there. If anybody would like to come to the front and let the people on Zoom and then the sanctuary see what you have on. I believe we have a fairy princess over there, and we have a baseball player. And yes, come on up. Everyone would like to see. We have spiders like me. Can just line up here. I'll step back a little bit. So the camera is right there. So just, if everyone can just see, how is the view here? Just in front of the podium, because come on up. Can you guys see everyone? Yes, we have pumpkins. Yeah, let's put the little young ones in front if that's okay. If you're okay showing them. If they're If you don't want to, that's fine. But they are disguised. Yeah, see, this is such a cool church. You could wear your Halloween costume on Sunday morning. Bonus points. So yes, we have Ariel. Looks like Wednesday. Yay. And there's all kinds of pumpkins and wonderful creations here. This is a way of showcasing our creativity, moving beyond what is ordinary consciousness. And there is a special feel when people are dressed up. Okay, you guys can sit now that everyone's seen you. I think we're getting a few pictures. Thanks, Chris. And there are both sacred and secular meanings behind the reasons for wearing all these costumes. There were some believed that if they're malevolent spirits, if you disguised yourself as a spirit, then these spirits wouldn't mess with you. They wouldn't try to take you back to the beyond with them when they left. There was also a performance aspect. What became trick-or-treating was initially bands of performers known as mummers going from house to house and singing or doing performances in exchange for candy or gifts of money. This was often a way of charity as well, because this is the time of year when the harvest is over. Everyone is facing winter. So it's the time of uncertainty. So it's a time to allow some of those fears to come through in our dress. Often dressing as a scary creature can help us to mitigate our own fears. And in many traditions, sacred dress is important. I know a lot of people were very happy when Reverend Nick started wearing vestments here, because having that special dress brought a presence and a real sense of, yes, we have a minister here. Priests and priestesses in other traditions or in shamanic traditions where they might wear animal skins or horns or specific fabrics or colors have a certain meaning. And there's a festive sense when everyone is dressed up. It gives that sense of out of the ordinary time. And as any performer knows, wearing a costume allows different aspects of yourself to come through. We have so many times in our lives, especially in certain job situations where we may have to hide parts of ourselves. This is a time to let that out. It's a time to play with other identities, be things that you might not be, try on a different role and expand your creativity. And ultimately, that is a spiritual path as well, as we start to discover ourselves in many ways. Sometimes if someone is very shy and they put on a costume, they find a certain confidence that they might not have as what they considered their ordinary self. But then coming back after taking the costume off, there is still some of that confidence and some of that sense of, yes, I can be this. It is a way of making us more fully human. And that is part of the sacred aspect of guising in this time of the year.
If anybody was wondering, I am Bad Guy Fox. We are a community that lives its mission and values to build beloved community and promote justice within, among, and beyond. We live in a world that requires financial resources to do and maintain that important work. Financial resources which many of you have shared generously over the years. Once again, I invite you to share your treasure with us so that we might be a treasure for this world. In alignment with today's ritual to cultivate relationship with those who have gone before us and to live my values, I'd like to announce that I'm offering a matching gift of up to $1,450 or 2.5% of my annual salary to display some new signage, some artwork banners created by Black or Indigenous people of color near our driveway. Artwork which promotes our values, promotes justice. The project, which has been approved by the board, will also make our current UUCA signage more visible. I know folks coming around from Walton Way right now basically have about less than a second to actually see the sign, and we want to try to open that up for them. I'm offering this gift to cultivate relationship with Ahmaud Arbery, who was murdered by 3 white men not far from here in Brunswick, Georgia on February 23rd, 2020. And the trial for those folks is coming up here in 2022. I'm not asking you to put money in the plate for this project this morning. I want to make that clear. But I'd love to speak with you after the service or in the coming weeks if you want to learn more and if you'd like to contribute. Would the ushers please come forward to receive this morning's offering? All you who have gone before, please listen now. We are listening to all you who have gone before. Join us in peace, crossing the river of life and death. Crossing the river of spirit and breath. All you who have gone before, please listen now. We are listening to all you who have gone before. Join us in peace, crossing the river of life and death. Crossing the river of spirit and breath. All you who have gone before, please listen now. We are listening to all you who have gone before. Join us in peace, crossing the river of life and death. Crossing the river of spirit and breath. All you who have gone before, please listen now. We are listening to all you who have gone before. Join us in peace.
Good morning, guys. My name is Richard Dillenbeck, and I'm a member of the Memorial Garden Committee. And I want to read a few words about the Memorial Garden, written by Jenny Malicia. Along with the establishment of the open door kindergarten, which some of you may never have heard about, but you will in later days. At the time of the open door kindergarten founded here in this church, it was illegal at that time. This is before certain laws have been passed, before integration. And our consistent years of marching at both the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in January, as well as the Augusta Pride in June. The Memorial Garden is part of our church's historical legacy. And when our service is over, I hope those of you who have not seen the garden will take a look. It's very easy to find. You just go out the door just past the glass panes. For those of you who are new, go out into the garden, past the fountain, go down the steps, bear to your left, and you will come to the Memorial Garden. It was chartered, signed, built, and lovingly maintained through the sweat of dedicated volunteers. And we couldn't have done it without the support of our board. Our garden is more than simply a beautiful, quiet place to rest and perhaps reflect. Rather, it is a living monument of what we all can do together. By the way, may I digress for a second and ask anyone that's been involved in the creation of the Memorial Garden, either with your money, with your hands, with your spirit, would you mind standing up just as, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Andy, Alice, Liz, Jan. Thank you very much. The 9 people currently commemorated in the garden all demonstrated through their membership in this beloved community, through service, art, or activism, and their commitment to a more just, more inclusive world. And to put it succinctly and to borrow from Congressman John Lewis's phrase, they made good trouble at the time they did this in the early 60s. And on that note, and with our thanks to his family, we are now going to share with you the blessing of Joe Traina's memorial service back in May. We all know him as Joey. He grew up in this church. And then following the video, we will remember others who have passed recently. Thank you.
Juana Viverá por Ortiz Guerrero.
Radiant butterfly, Ortiz Guerrero.
Juana Viverá Seba de Jeroku. De Pepo Cuarahu Ame. Juana Viverá por Ortiz Guerrero.
Radiant butterfly, Ortiz Guerrero.
Panambi Seraperame, de Seba de Jeroku. De Pepo Cuarahu Ame, Amora e Añotu.
Butterfly, my path, how you shine, dance on the sun, in the shadow of your wings, I want to bury my heart.
Terera ua leira se keisa se o kuape. A omo asukava ambo o se sau. Ku inuati i nyuku agude nye hape ipaba anga se pope huwu suru.
I feel your glow like wild honey as a consolation that is sweetening my poor tears of pain. When among thorns, through fields and jungle, I follow your flight, and between my hands, your broken wings bleed their light.
Lewenyu hangwa se pope aikuwa anga unya atoru kwetu pape se aripi rehasa.
I chase you because I want to have you very close to me, and with your flying light, run away from my frenzy.
Panambi deixa guarumba e fogo aime morava. Prese iwikundi se tu ure de saraki. Remin vivero koshere sabe baba. Dove vaena de rapurita nie.
Where would there be butterfly, a being full in you, but in wind on the flowers, run away from me. You rain blind my eyes follow you to offer you my last breath. I'm going after you.
Good morning. I'm Andy Reese, and I think that you will agree that I have nailed my costume this morning as an active old man. So I'm here to remember Sherwood Reichert, who died in the spring. I joined the faculty of the Medical College of Georgia in August 1975. I probably met Sherwood that fall. We were in different departments, but I was an immunologist, and immunology was one of the areas in which he was interested. I didn't know it at the time, but he would become, a mentor to me. Somehow, before I knew it, he had recruited me to be on some faculty committee or other. It was typical of Sherwood. He believed strongly in faculty government and always on the lookout for additional recruits to his cause. I later found out that he and Jackie Weatherwood had organized the first medical faculty senate at MCG and wrote the first bylaws. He later helped organize and write the bylaws for the faculty-wide organization at MCG. He served as president of both organizations and was probably a member of one or the other for at least half of the years that he was at MCG. Sherwood's activities in promoting faculty governments was a reflection of his concern for the welfare of the faculty. He was president of the MCG chapter of the American Association of University Professors and later of the Georgia AAUP. He pushed for and was the founder of the MCG Credit Union. And he was proud of having the #1 card for the credit union. He also helped found the MCG Research Institute. All of this was almost incidental to his research career. He was the author of dozens of well-cited research papers, books, and review papers. I had the privilege of co-authoring a couple of these review papers and one of the books. He served on numerous scientific review boards and was selected as a delegate to various international agencies. His contributions were recognized by awarding of several scientific awards and his selection as a Regents Professor at the Medical College. Sherwood was the president and director of 5 different international research societies. I belong to 3 of them myself. And I saw how efficiently he led them. 2 of those societies were in financial straits when he took over. But within a year, he had them straightened out and in the black. I recruited him to become the president of the Georgia Academy of Sciences. And again, he was able to help stabilize its finances. One of the duties that Sherwood had for the international and national societies was to find locations for the annual meetings. Needless to say, when he would visit potential sites, hotels or resorts, to see if it was suitable and what the prices would be, they pulled out all the stops. He was wined and dined. The problem was Sherwood didn't care about food or wine. He considered them fuel to maintain his body. He organized over 100 of these meetings. I volunteered several times to take over this onerous duty for him, but he never did call on me to do that. Still think it would have been more fun for me than for him. Sherwood was also an entrepreneur. When he retired from MCG, he was the president or CEO of 7 different companies. After his retirement, he cut back to only 5. One of these was the Biomedical Press, which published books, journals, newsletters, conference proceedings, etc. One of those publications was my first non-scientific book. So it's apparent Sherwood was an outstanding scientist who cared about his fellow workers. But why are we talking about him here? Sherwood and his first wife, Janet, were early and important members of this church. Actually, it was still a fellowship at the time he joined. He was a humanist, and his commitment to reason and the use of scientific method in human affairs was the main focus of Unitarianism at the time. He and Janet reared their 2 boys and daughter in this congregation. Unfortunately, Janet and the 2 boys had predeceased him. For reasons I'll never understand, given his intelligence and commitment to reason, Sherwood became interested in Scientology. It led him to leave the church, and among other things, contributed to his and Janet's divorce. He later married Laurie and was more happy and contented than I had ever seen him until her death for cancer only a few years later. Sherwood was a good man. He made significant contributions to science, the Medical College of Georgia, this congregation, and his many friends and collaborators. He was the first person to visit Alice when she was recovering from breast cancer and was of support to me during that time. Knowing him enriched my life, and I will always be grateful.
Barb Bowen could not make it, so I will share a remembrance of Linda Walsh. She was one of the first people I met when I first came here. At that time, the pagan group here was CUPS, Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans, and she was very, very active in that. She was very knowledgeable, smart, witty, funny. She was a wonderful songwriter, and she was a creator of folk songs, which are sort of like parody type of songs from existing melodies. And she wrote some original songs. She was a guitarist as well. She would do these wonderful all-night Yule celebrations with feasting and music and theater pieces. And she was very, very dynamic. She and I shared a love of the Egyptian pantheon and the goddess Sekhmet. Unfortunately, she had a lot of overlapping health issues, lung problems, kidney problems, some I don't have the medical knowledge to understand. But gradually she had to start pulling back from a lot of the activities and the meetups and the circles and everything that we were doing here. And the past few years, she was basically housebound, and we would mainly share our Egyptian memes on Facebook. I wish I had gotten to know her more. Barb is in the process of compiling some recordings of some of her music so that we can share that. But I did want to offer a remembrance of her because she was a major part of our community a while back. And I wish we had had more time with her, but her body was such that she could not function on this plane. So I honor her wherever she is. Linda Walsh.
I am honored to do a remembrance of Catherine Williams, Kate. Kate was a Navy veteran, came to Augusta and spent many years as a social worker at the VA hospital, touched so many lives. She was looking around for a church that didn't have a lot of dogma. And a fellow social worker and close friend, Betty Frank, said, well, you should come with me to the Unitarian Church. And that's how she ended up here. We would often see Betty Frank and Kate sitting right over there on Sunday mornings. The other thing Betty Frank got her into was one of what turned out to be one of her passions. Now, of course, her first passion was her children, her daughter and son, and her daughter is with us. The second passion was League of Women Voters. Betty Frank and Susan Bloomfield, who's on Zoom, had been very active building League of Women Voters back in the 70s and on till the 90s. And when they decided to restart the League of Women Voters, Kate was part of that effort. Kate became the secretary. And when she gave up that job, I took it over. And for a short woman, she left really big shoes to fill. Anytime we had events for League of Women Voters, she was right there. She had a beautiful dress that had been a great aunt, I think, that she would bring to all of our annual teas. Now, this was like a Victorian dress with a waist that was about this big. And Kate always laughed. She couldn't fit in the dress, but she did love it. And we still have that we will bring out. So I honor Kate Williams. And thank you, Ann. I would invite those in the sanctuary now who have remembrances of loved ones, people or animals that you would like to share, to come and join me up here. And then we will open it up to folks on Zoom.
Turn your eyes to the western skies, away from dust of dreams gone by. 1,000 flames on a vast dark sea, to light your way to eternity. Turn your eyes to the western skies, away from dust of dreams gone by. 1,000 flames on a vast dark sea,
to light your way to eternity. Turn your eyes to the western skies, away from dust of dreams gone by. 1,000 flames on a vast dark sea, to light your way to eternity.
We are aware of the fragile balance of life and death. We have become much more aware of it in this time of COVID, as many of our social structures and the protections that we thought we had are crumbling, as we are aware of how fragile we are upon the environment, how affected we are by climate change and by the social networks and by expecting people to be doing certain things that they may not have been able to do. And it is in this fragility that we are more aware, that we remember to honor the time we have, to love fiercely, to follow what we can do, to find our inner strength and to share with others. As our Spooky to Be Hungry campaign, in this time where we often dress as vampires and zombies and spooky creatures and we play with the darkness, we are also aware of the very real darkness of the social justice that is not happening in this country and the hunger that our ancestors were aware of at this time of year at the end of harvest. And we are aware of many who do not have enough to eat. The bin for Spooky to Be Hungry is out there. And we have the privilege of being able to help. And that is something that our bonds of community, as we gather in towards the close of summer and into the colder season, into the darker season. And we are here together in person and on Zoom in this dance of life and death, of spirit and breath. Please join in our closing hymn, Let It Be a Dance. Dancing in the aisles is allowed.
Here we go. That was the second time.
Our ancestors, whose names we spoke, we are grateful for their presence in our lives, in our hearts, as we bless them and they bless us through the veil of mystery, also with the knowledge that we are the ancestors of those who will be. And our candle of freedom, let us keep it bright within our hearts. And our chalice of the season, turning into the darker time of year, drawing us together as we move towards the brightness of solstice. Blessed be, and let us sing, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We're going to do a little second line, so don't sit down too.
You can get up and dance if you want to. Thank you. And really special thanks to Jenny, who helped with organizing the Memorial Garden segment for this service. Okay.